the number one thing I always ask them, and I hear this all the time, is that they always wish they had another. And so I see a lot of hosts and operators that are putting in ones based on aesthetics. Oh, I got the little white fire extinguisher. I didn't want it too big, so I got that little canned prepared hero one. Don't ever put those in your property. It is. It's the number one thing someone always says after using a fire extinguisher is, I wish there was more.
If you're just joining us, don't forget to go back and catch part 1 of Justin Ford. Today, Justin's going to speak about fire prevention and emergency equipment and more. Welcome to the Vacation Rental Show. This is your essential playbook to grow and scale your vacation rental business with advice and insights from the best in the biz. I'm your host, Linnell Gordon. I want to mention one more thing because this was something I didn't know that you taught me personally, and it just blew my mind. Someone asked me about it about a month ago, and that's the reason it came up. And I thought, I'm going to talk to Justin. I'm going to mention this again. So in the kitchen, on your kitchen where your fire extinguisher is, there is a fire blanket.
Yes.
Let's talk about that blanket. What is that blanket for? Because my brother went in and he said, you don't have enough. He did the same thing that you said before. There aren't enough fire blankets for everyone.
So this may be controversial. Nobody's called me out on this yet. I say this from time to time. I'm not sure I've said this in a podcast environment before, but I don't want to see a fire blanket in a short-term rental, at least in the United States. UK, European markets, I can understand it. They're more familiar and have education on it. I don't want to see one in the US short-term rental. They're not required by code. They're not even mentioned in code. In America, that's not what we're trained to do. So if you have a short-term rental and your guests who aren't educated on how to use one are fumbling around with trying to use one, things are probably going to get worse. In the US, we have said fire extinguishers are the best way to extinguish a fire in your home, and that's what people should be using. A lot of people don't understand you've got to put gloves on to use a fire blanket, and they don't always sell them with it. But there are gloves you've got to put on so you don't burn your hands. And they make these gloves. Yeah, they make these gloves. I am going into some short-term rentals now where I am seeing, I was at a big box store the other day and they actually were selling the gloves with the blanket. And I'm like, well, thank goodness they're starting to do that. But most people don't get that either. If I own a short-term rental, and my family does, I've put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in that. If there's a fire there with people who are drinking alcohol, who aren't familiar with my property, I'd like them to try and save it. I don't care that I've got to get a vacuum cleaner and clean up a bunch of dust, and maybe I've got to buy a new stove because it's all filled with fire extinguisher residue. Thank gosh I'm not having to put in an insurance claim and potentially losing my property because I gave my guests the right tool. Give them a fire extinguisher, a big one. But yes, I don't like fire blankets in short-term rentals, and until we change the way we educate and help people understand how to use them, they shouldn't be in there.
So I just want to say, guys, for those of you who do have a fire, the fire blanket is not to go over your head. The fire blanket is to go on the fire. So
there's actually a lawsuit related to that. It's insane. There were 9 people in a fire, one fire blanket. They were staying in a property in Texas, and there weren't enough blankets for everybody. They thought they were to wrap around them during a fire. Yeah.
So I have a stove. I have a great stove, and it's a gas stove. And I want a way to educate my people I've got a fire extinguisher there, but there's only one person can use that fire extinguisher. I'm just saying at a time, you're not going to have more than one. So I would love to have a way to tell them this is a fire blanket. If you have an oil fire or if something catches on fire on your stove, you have this blanket that you can throw over it. But I didn't know I had to have gloves for that.
Yeah, you burn your hands. It happens. That's why they make the gloves for it. I get emails and messages a lot. You and I talked about this briefly before the podcast interview, and I'm not allowed to share. They're like, hey, don't tell anybody this happened, but it did. I can't tell you how many messages just on Christmas I got from professional managers. I'll suggest the market, at least 30A market. I got one from California. Oh my gosh, we had a fire and the guests were able to put it out because the fire extinguisher, thank you. We didn't have one before we listened to you. And so I hear that a lot. And the number one thing I always ask them, and I hear this all the time, is that they always wish they had another. And so I see a lot of hosts and operators that are putting in ones based on aesthetics. Oh, I got the little white fire extinguisher. I didn't want it too big, so I got that little canned prepared hero one. Don't ever put those in your property. It's the number one thing someone always says after using a fire extinguisher is, I wish there was more. And so you want to get the big. I have 7.5 pounders in my home. 5 is the minimum that I think needs to be out there. Those little ones, maybe put them by your grill. But you want big because if the guests need to use it, you want them to be able to use it, and you want them to put the fire out, not have it get worse.
Well, our grills are outside, so where do we put our fire extinguisher outside?
Yeah, and this is one that always blows me away. If you've ever been on I-80 and going up to Tahoe in the middle of winter and you look over at those big trucks putting on their chains, guess what? They have fire extinguishers on the back. They're the same type of containers in your home. And when you go to Hawaii, they're all outside. Fire extinguishers can be outside. They can actually go down to negative temperatures and operate at high temperatures. So it's okay to have a fire extinguisher outside. If you go online or Amazon, different things like that, they make covers for them to protect them from the elements, but they can be outside at any temperature. So you can have a fire extinguisher mounted outside on a post under your deck near where the fire extinguisher is on the side of the house. Highly recommend you doing that. And then just put a little cover on it that they make for those.
Okay, because I was going to say, how often do I have to, because it's oceanfront, how often would I have to replace that?
Yeah, they'll get rusty in those salty air environments.
I have to replace it each year, I would say.
Yeah, you might have to do it every year. They're around $50-$60. So what? I can assure you, you'll be sitting there at the store looking at that fire extinguisher after you've gone in to buy all the new things for your home, going, if I just spent $50 this year on a fire extinguisher for my guest.
I have the 7.5 pounders. How many do I need in my kitchen?
You need one within 30 feet of any cooking appliance. That's code in the US. And I think that's enough. And you want it near an exit point. One of the things that I always try and walk hosts and operators through is putting yourself in that defensible position. You walk out of the bedroom. I mean, most fires in a kitchen are unattended. People are distracted. They go into the bedroom, whatever. They're outside. They come back in. There's a fire in the kitchen. They're unattended cooking fires. Number one cause of fire in a home. And so you don't want them running in and looking under the sink and doing all that. You want it at a point where they can also easily exit. I like putting them near a main entry door. That way they've got that defensible space behind them to escape the property quickly if they need to. But in the meantime, you got a 5-pounder, you're shooting that thing over 20 feet. You're going to make sure that you've put a dent in that fire.
Okay, so, all right, I'd like to have 2 in my kitchen, so that's a good idea. So I've got one, and I mount mine on the wall. They're red, and they stand out. It's not aesthetically beautiful, but it is where it is.
I've never heard of anybody showing up at a vacation rental and calling and going, we can't stay here. There's an ugly fire extinguisher on the wall.
That's true, but I'm going to put one by the door now that you've said that. I'm like, you know what? That's a great idea because the door is not far from the kitchen, and with the amount of people that we have in our properties, guys, during the summer, you got more than one person. You probably got more than one person in the kitchen. So not a bad idea to have 2. I know I'm keeping you. I'd like to talk about lithium battery fires, like e-scooters and the bikes that we use. Is that an issue? And what do we need to do?
Yeah, I've been pushing some new education this year on that. I haven't seen anybody biting into it, but here's what you need to understand. We saw a significant number of lithium battery fires at short-term rentals last year. There was one down in Destin recently with a bike. One of the things that, again, going back to the same thing with the car chargers, the reason we see a higher number of lithium battery fires at short-term rentals is because people are traveling with these products and they forget their chargers. You shouldn't be using a charger from 7-Eleven to charge your iPhone. The manufacturers of all these drones, ski boot chargers, e-bikes, scooters, all of these things specifically state only use the charger that was supplied with the product. And so that's where we're seeing a lot of these issues happen as guests show up. Oh my gosh, I forgot the charger for my e-bike. And so they're running out to Target or Walmart and buying a charger that is not intended to be used with that. And the amperage might be off a little bit. So now it's putting too much. They're cheaply made. So now it might overcharge the battery and it will catch on fire. So that's where we're exposed at a higher risk. And the other thing is the traveling within itself. when these bikes are traveling 8 hours on the back of a car on a bike rack, they're banging, and that can damage the batteries. That's what we saw with a fire in Destin with an e-bike, or the travel process of it. And if you put this in perspective, this actually happened to me on a flight 2 years ago. A computer laptop caught on fire while we were taking off. The reason on an airplane they don't want you on your phone or your laptops, and why they want them in the overhead bins, is so they can manage that fire much easier if it were to happen. Whereas during takeoff, flight attendants are in their seat. They can't get up and quickly put out the fire. Having it in those overhead bins contains it a little bit longer. So think of that same perspective when it comes to lithium batteries and different things in your short-term rental. You want to have those stored in an area where they can be controlled and managed better. Under a pillow on a bunk bed is not a good spot. In a garage that doesn't have smoke alarms is not a good spot. So you need to come up with a location in your short-term rental where you want guests to charge these, that it's going to be identified quickly and can be addressed as quickly as possible.
The Vacation Rental Show has partnered with Rental Guardian to bring the vacation rentals market custom protection products built for the needs of the vacation rental industry. Enjoy complete protection for both your travelers and your owners via the industry's leading travel, damage, and liability protection products. Learn more about the travel tech industry's most advanced travel and damage protection platform and API at rentalguardian.com.
Okay, I'm just going to repeat this because I think it's important enough, because I didn't know this, and this is something else I've learned today, and I will make the changes in my vacation rental because of this and based on this. I did not realize that if you're not using an OEM charger, like you mentioned iPhone, iPads, in our vacation rental, we have this really cool station that we have. It's aftermarket, where when the guest comes in from the beach or the guest comes in, we have several of these where they can just come in and there's a line and they can charge them all. And I know that's not OEM. So we'll have to think about, guys, since it's a real issue, we have to think about what we can do to find products. You should have a page that has products on it.
I don't want people to buy safety products because I recommended them. I'm very careful about that. I probably could be a gazillionaire if people bought, like, my favorite smoke lamps, First Alert. I don't get any money from them. They haven't had a recall since 2006. That's why I like them.
I love them. That's what I use. Yes.
But if I told people and gave them a link to go do it, they'd think they were buying them because I was getting money. And I don't want people to think that. I want people to go, this is the right thing to do. And so I don't give links to stuff. I just tell people, no, let you go find it and you buy this, but this is the right thing to do. And going back real quick to chargers, my daughter plays basketball. She's a varsity basketball player in high school. She could play basketball in her running shoes. She's that good. But she plays better by wearing basketball sneakers. And that's the same thing you need to think about when it comes to these charging cords. Just an analogy like that. Yeah, you can charge something, but it's not going to do the right thing. And that's why you need to use the right ones recommended by the manufacturer.
You're doing a fine line here, Justin. You are one of the most altruistic people I have ever met in my life. You're incredibly kind. And you're kind to everyone and you don't ignore anyone. I mean, like, this is so funny. I sent you something after Vegas. I saw you at Vegas and like my husband and I are walking by and I made a really funny comment to you. I won't even say it out loud because it's not worth saying on air. And people would say, you said what? I said something to you and you were afterwards. You were just so nice because you were like, I'm sorry I missed you and didn't get to see you and talk to you. You're that kind of person. So here's what I want to say. If you would make a list of products that you think are good safety products and this is something you endorse, I would talk to my attorney. I don't think there's any liability on your part, depending on how you put it in, but it's a service. It's like people that sell houses to first-time homeowners or other people. People look at them in one way. I look at it like this. It's the biggest transaction you'll ever make. You're doing a service for someone. You should be paid for it. So I have no problem with you having a list and a link out, and you definitely should do an affiliate list. It's something that this is your wheelhouse. You are our expert.
I know. I hear you.
We love you. Do this and have someone help you. And I mean, donate the money to one of our nonprofits in our vacation rental industry. I'm going to throw one out there, the one that my sister Rochelle Hobbs and April Burns.
The Rent Responsibly Advocacy?
No, not the Right to Rent. I love that one, but no, there's a new one. And what they do, she's one of my besties and she does accounting in the industry. And she's the only one that really comes in and does that. What they're doing is they're collecting money to train people what to do in an emergency situation. If there's a hurricane, if there's a bunch of people that quit at your office, not just administrative things as well. And they are giving money out to people. They have software that's been donated to them. The emergency software actually that LSI wrote that I don't own anymore. I didn't give it to them. And Habit was very kind enough to do that, to allow communication between owners and all that. Anyway, they're teaching people what to do in emergency situations that happen in their business. So it's hospitality heroes. So April Burns, Rochelle Hobbs, and Sue Jones got together and they were like, we have people that have financial emergencies. They lose all their data. They lose their people that are in financial services and they don't know what to do with their software. Like what happened in North Carolina. You know, the river overflowed. They lost services for that length of time. Who can they turn to? Where will we have money? And they're a nonprofit. So they're collecting money from people that are interested in helping in that situation. And that's what they're doing. They're giving their expertise. Rochelle, because how many hurricanes has she gone through? And she's really got it down to a science. April Burns, same kind of thing. Software issues. Your software fails completely. What do you do? And then you've got Sue Jones, who has complete training on what happens in your business when you have someone sue you for HR, those types of things. So they are putting together training for people, preemptive, and also collecting money to help people. Like, think about what happened in Hawaii.
I love that. I've been asked to talk and I'd like to see something put together. I haven't had time to do it because I'm so busy trying to prevent issues, but a lot of people always have asked, what do we do after an incident? So what do we do after we've had a fire at our short-term rental? Who do we call? How do, it's not just insurance. If a guest is injured, I was just in a debate on social media. They had a guest who fell down the stairs and all these people are saying, don't talk to the guest, call your lawyer immediately. It's like, no, that's horrible advice. You need to get your insurance company involved because they're going to pay for the lawyer. And you can absolutely say you're sorry. I mean, that's going to help smooth things through all of this. Saying I'm sorry doesn't admit to guilt. And so, yeah, I'd like to see something that helps people after an incident.
I'm going to put you guys together because I would love for you to be a part of that and put together something that you see in the industry that people are asking you about as well. I think that the more people we get involved with helping other property management companies when they're in that type of situation and then preempting it the same way you are with, so maybe they could get a safety list from you and they could have that a part of that. I will talk to them about it as well. But is there anything else you want to tell property managers?
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly talk about documentation. I've been really talking a lot about that because of the legal stuff that I'm seeing come through and how important that is for hosts and operators to protect themselves from liability.
Talk to me about that. So what kind of documentation? Have you got something for them?
Yeah, I did a post about this on LinkedIn recently. It's a true situation. I'm seeing this happen more and more where something happens down the line, an incident happens at your property, and then later you're sued as a result of it. And that's something we see very common in slip and falls. You'll hear from a guest that stayed with you 2 months ago and they say the lights weren't on when they arrived. As a result, they slipped and fell. They've been injured. And now they're filing a claim and it's 2 months down the line. They've been out of work. And so now they're suddenly coming in this claim and you're like, holy smokes, 2 months ago, I don't know if the lights were on or off. And I've actually seen cases now where because the documentation hosts and operators are doing, cleaners are on the front line of this, they're having defensible proof to show, wait a minute, what date was that? Oh, my cleaner snapped a picture that all the exterior lights on that same day. So for you to say that 2 months ago they weren't. So I can't emphasize enough geo-tag, date timestamp photos that you're taking of your property. Work with your cleaning crew on this, whoever's inspecting your property. If you do it yourself, just taking that quick video doing it. I do it every time I rent a car. I quickly take a walk around of the car. And when I return it, I do. That just actually helped me. I got a message 3 weeks after I used a 6-car rental in Denver saying they found a chip in the glass and they want me to buy a new window. I'm like, holy smokes, here's a video. There's no chip in the glass when I took it. So you've got to do that with your short-term rental. You can't document things enough. And even if you did something wrong, if you go to court because you had a safety incident at your property, the number one thing they're going to prove or try and prove is you were negligent. You're not negligent if you're taking action and showing it. Your Honor, we always do these inspections. We consistently do this, and yet this still happens. So I can't emphasize enough documenting pictures, checklists, anything you can do to showcase that you're being a responsible operator.
Guys, I would suggest you follow Justin on LinkedIn because he does post good information for everyone. He's one of the most interesting people, kindest, wonderful. I have a real heart for you, Justin. Thank you for what you do for us in the industry. There aren't enough awards to give out to people like you that have spent their whole life and career trying to save people and keep them safe. So thank you for all that you do. And please come back next year and tell me what we have to look at, the newest, latest, greatest things that we have to have. There's just not enough time to train.
No, something tells me that the rest of my career lifetime, I'm not going to run out of anything to talk about.
Well, you have forgotten more than most people will ever know about safety. And so we appreciate you taking the time to help us in the industry. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. We'll talk to you next year.
This episode of the Vacation Rental Show is brought to you by Rental Guardian. To find out more about how Rental Guardian can help grow your vacation rental business, visit rentalguardian.com. Make sure to search for the Vacation Rental Show in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, or anywhere else podcasts are found. And hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. On behalf of the team at Inhabit, thanks for listening.